One thing I don't understand about Joe is he's trying to do the clean route with this podcast stuff. But he does mention that he don't want to do business with guys that even sit down with rats, which could mess his growth up. It could interfere with his growth because at the end of the day, I don't know if you heard this, but he don't mess with Conor McGregor because Conor McGregor took a picture with Michael Francis.
Right.
So that kind of limit his growth because if he's looking for like many guests and just to get on his podcast, and if he's looking to network, because we're in a business where we're not in the streets, you're going to have to run across guys that do business with rats or guys that used to be rats. As far as you got Conor McGregor, he sat down with Michael Francis. You got Andrew Tate, he sat down with Michael Francis. You have Mike Tyson, he sat down with Michael Francis. So these are guys that already eliminated that he can't, that he has to cross off his list that he wouldn't sit down with. And so it kind of limit his growth, which is bad for business. So if I'm like one of his producers, I'm kind of frustrated because it's like, well, we have to get these guests on the show. And, there's a lot of opportunity out in the world that we have to network. But if you don't want to sit down with these guys because they sat down with a rat, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because all Michael Francis have to do, because you got to look at it. Michael Francis is ahead of Joe Merlino when it comes to this podcast and stuff. So all Michael Francis have to do is do business with all these celebrities. And that kind of limits Joey Merlino, so that could kind of knock Joe Merlino off because it's like, I already got everyone that's important on my show. So you're refusing to sit down with them because because they sat down with me. So what are you going to do now? Because I already did business with all these guys. That's important. That means something in social media. So what are you going to do?
Well, I think Joey is absolute about it. And I think that, yes, for sure. Like, if Joey had come out, Michael Franzese and Sammy the Bull invited him on their shows. And if he had done that, that would have benefited him and helped with the growth of his channel. But Joey doesn't give an F about that because this cat has a bone deep hatred of rats. And once again, it's because he had spent a good portion of his life in jail. His dad, his pop, Chucky, was thrown under the jail. He died in prison, had to raise his grandchildren in prison. And so it's hard to, if you haven't done it, it's some can sympathize. If you haven't been through it yourself, you can't empathize. And I understand where he's coming from because, the thing about Joey is he's in modern times, but he's following a code that's like 1,000 years old. So he's kind of he's like a historical anachronism, because the code that he's following is out of time and he is hardcore with it and he's absolute. I think though that's a lot of his appeal because people just in this world, I think the true currency in entertainment or whatever is to be unique and to be different. And I think that Joey is different. Now you say Michael Franzise's channel is doing better than Joey. Michael Franzise's channel has the most subscribers in the game, over 1 million. However, I'll tell you something right now. Joey is hotter than Michael, okay, in terms of just what I see from creators. Like, I know there's this a smaller creator who Michael had given a few interviews to, and I look at the numbers on that. They're not that good. But then I see other creators doing stuff such as myself with Joey, and the numbers are big. So the thing is that, as you know, things are relative. We've had discussions before. Subscribers don't mean everything. Who knows if those subscribers are real?
Right.
But
you have guys in the game that do manipulate the numbers. So we do have that.
Sure.
Yeah. And I do understand why Joey don't want to sit down with rats because just like you said, he spent a lot of time in jail because of rats. His father spent time in jail because of rats. So, that's a big understanding when it comes to that. But you just have to ask yourself, okay, it's like, when does it stop? Like, when do you become free from it? Because it's like once you're a street dude, it's like you're a slave to it. Like you're a slave to the rules. All right, you said Joey Merlino, he's hardcore when it comes to those rules. But one of the rules are you cannot be in media. You cannot come out with a podcast. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's 100% true, but you cannot write a book. You cannot do a podcast. You cannot, do a TV show or anything if he was involved in their life.
I mean, Joey is the alleged, boss of the Philadelphia Mafia. That's been alleged in the media. And so what happens is invariably all these rats who are on YouTube reach out to Joey and, Michael Franzese, Sammy the Bull, and others, many others. And they want to be on his show. They want him to be on their show because they want to ride his coattails because he's experiencing a mercurial rise on social media, mostly YouTube and other social media channels. And so then what happens is Joey slaps him down. He said, to Michael Franzese, I don't entertain lying rats. Now, then the next step is they get butthurt and they come back and they're like, well, you're a rat because you're on social media and you're not allowed to be on social media.
Yeah, that's not being a rat. That's not being a rat.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Like Dom Sakali, who is a rat, who, has now, I think the same kind of situation, the syndrome of him wanting to deal with Joey, but then Joey slaps him down. And then now he's kind of just talks a lot of mess on Joey. He says when you get sworn in, the oath of Cosa Nostra says that you're not allowed to talk to media, et cetera, et cetera. Now, first of all, the oath you take in Cosa Nostra varies widely. Okay, there's all kinds of different oaths. There's many, many different families. They do it in many different ways. I know I've heard a few of them and I don't recall hearing, they give you some basic rules, but I don't even recall hearing you don't talk to the media. And if that is the case, Dom Sakali and all these other guys who accuse Joey of this, are you going to accuse John Gotti of being a rat? Because
exactly.
I don't hear anybody accusing John Gotti of being a rat, and John Gotti spoke to the media all the time.
Exactly. But it's like, when it comes to that rule, you cannot talk to the media about the life. Joey Merlino, he talks about sports. He talks about food. He's not talking about the mafia on his show. So he has to make some type of money. So it's like he's not doing anything wrong.
No. And I challenge that idea that it's against the rules. It's like, cause I don't necessarily think it is. And then, you think of a guy like, this is a weird example where you think about Joe Colombo back in the day, cause he did eventually get popped, and people didn't like it, but I don't know. But I just think of like Gotti, cause Gotti is like, has been for so many years, like the paradigm of a tough stand-up guy. Nobody challenges it. Like, you hear a lot of rumblings about this and about that. Nobody challenges that. But it's like, so I don't know. I look at it like that.
No one challenged Joey Merlino when he went on the Howard show, when he called in, I think it was the 90s. Joey Merlino called in on the Howard show, and they was talking about him being at the hockey game. No one talked about that because Joey Merlino was in his prime. He was in his prime and he had things going on. He had a lot of motion going on during that time.
No one challenges Joey until Joey slaps them down and rebuffs them. And then they behave like, a guy who is like rebuffed by a woman, and then they get all butthurt and then they start talking mess. And before that, they're all complimentary. They love everything. They want to go on his show. But then they start nitpicking. I don't know. Yeah.
But we're talking about the 90s. Like, all right, it's 2024 right now. So the mafia is not really strong as it used to be. But, in the 90s, it was stronger than what it is now. If there's a mafia, if there ever was a mafia. So we talk about the 90s. Like, of course, the 90s, the mob wasn't as strong as, the 80s or the 70s or the 60s. But they were stronger than the mafia now. So with Joey Merlino calling into the Howard show, he would have been challenged right there. No one challenged him.
Right.
No one challenged him during that time.
Right. Yeah, I think, there's been so many rumblings of like, oh, New York's mad at Joey. I don't think any legitimate people have ever been mad at Joey. Short of like, an alleged time when New York installed an alleged boss at the head of the alleged Philadelphia Cosa Nostra family, allegedly depriving the second generation mafia princes of their birthright, and then they had to gun it out. Other than that, I don't really believe any legitimate people have really had a beef with Joey. The people that have a beef,
not giving anything up. Like Joe Bonanno wrote the book. He was giving up certain secrets in the mafia. Joe Merlino was not giving anything up. He's talking about life.
Right.
Like a normal conversation he would have with a bus driver or anyone. He's just having a conversation about sports. We all talk about sports. We all love sports. He's giving out picks, who he thinks is going to win, his advice on what's going on in the sports world. That's what they're talking about. He's doing prison reform. He's trying to free dudes.
Right.
The innocent guys. He's trying to free innocent guys. But he's not doing anything wrong. He's doing a good deed.
The only people that have beef with Joey are rats.
Rats and haters.
Yeah, and haters. Exactly.
You never saw Michael Francis pass out turkeys? Jordan Merlino went to the Richard Island Projects. That's a crime control projects in the 90s and passed out turkeys to an African American community. That's what Jordan Merlino did. You never heard Michael Francis doing that. You never heard Sammy the Bull doing none of that. He bought bikes, over 100 bikes to the community. You know, he does his thing. He gives back to the community. That's why, everyone loves him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, Joey helps kids. Sammy Gravano kid.
Exactly.
Yeah, big difference. But
there's a lot of people that got good stories about Merlino. You could say what you want, but you got a lot of people that have good things to say about him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and go to his city. Philly loves Joey, right?
Yes, hell yeah.
That's your city. That's my city. We know. We've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, they call him Front Row Joe.
Front Row Joe in the house, in his house.